Good Tuesday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. From the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by the Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joe Everett. We're currently 52 degrees out here at the farm, and looks like it's going to be a great day today and for most of the week. We'll have a full detailed forecast later from Ryan Martin, but first let's take a quick look at the calendar. Nature's is proud to support our community. Be sure to stop out at the Allen County Fair August 16th through the 24th. Then Whole House Ag Solutions will be hosting an open house on August 23rd in Sidney, Ohio, to talk about their TYM tractors and other products and services they offer. For more information, you can call Greg at 937-538-8594. Now let's take a look at some of your agricultural news headlines. Well, John Deere is saying it's moving faster than ever before in managing new and used inventories. While Deere & Company last week reported sharply lower sales and revenue at the end of its third quarter, Deere stock turned upward over the last 2 days of the week, perhaps in recognition of the company's focus on reducing costs and balancing its new and used inventories with reduced demand. Deere reported that for quarter 3 of 2024, compared to 2023 of last year, net sales and revenue were down 17%, net income was down 42%, and net production and ag sales were down 25%, all in compared to last year. Still, with those results, Deere apparently beat market expectations. The results showed in stock prices that closed up more than 20 points Thursday. Deere's plan for current down business cycle in agricultural equipment includes 2 main features. One is to control the cost, and 2 is to add incentives for their dealers. In other news, the USDA is addressing wildlife rabies outbreak. The Department of Agriculture recently approved a nearly $19 million emergency funding to address current wildlife rabies outbreaks in multiple states. The funding allows USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service to establish a sufficient stockpile of oral rabies vaccine baits and address emerging rabies cases in high-risk areas. Administrator Michael Watson says by reducing rabies in wildlife populations, we are safeguarding both human and animal health and decreasing the risk of disease spread. The Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service National Rabies Management Program controls and eliminates rabies virus in terrestrial carnivores such as raccoons, coyotes, and foxes. It has been able to support emergency responses in recent years using appropriated funding, but growing costs and the need to provide an increasing number of rabies responses has depleted available resources. This emergency funding is being redirected from unspent balances from previous animal and plant health emergencies. The funding will address rabies outbreaks in Alabama, Maine, New Hampshire, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Vermont. In other news, the U.S. beef herd rebuild could take years. The U.S. beef cow inventory has fallen to its lowest level in more than 60 years. With no significant changes on the horizon that would quickly reverse the trend, rebuilding the U.S. beef cow herds to historic norms is shaping up to be a years-long undertaking. According to new research brief from CoBank's Knowledge Exchange, current market conditions are incentivizing cow-calf producers to sell heifer calves rather than retain them for future breeding purposes. From a financial standpoint, the benefit of selling calves for immediate gain far outweighs the risk of investing in those calves to become part of the reproductive cow herd. CoBank's researcher Abby Prinz says, given the route calf prices have gone, it's become a no-brainer decision for some cow-calf operators to sell new crop calves for immediate cash flow. Ultimately, calf prices will be the determining factor when it comes to whether the U.S. beef cow herd retracts further or begins to grow. We'll be back to take a look at today's weather after this.
Hey Ohio, exciting news coming to you from Ohio's Country Journal. Subscribe or renew your free subscription by September 20th of 2024 and you could win one of 4 50-inch televisions. Ohio's Country Journal is free, but subscribers have to renew their subscriptions every 3 years to continue to receive it. Subscribe or renew to stay updated on all things Ohio, from agricultural insights to rural lifestyle. Don't miss out. Visit our website today at ocj.com/renew.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
It's now time to take a look at today's weather, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's your forecast.
Dry weather dominates our Ohio forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Ag weather update. Right now, I can't talk about any significant moisture for most of the next week to 9 days. I do think we have a significant frontal boundary that's going to be trying to come together Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday, the 29th into the 30th, that will bring us rain over a good 75-80% of Ohio. But between now and then, not looking like much in our forecast. We see several opportunities for thunderstorms to pop up to our west, not with any front, but just because of heat, but they die as they move into Illinois. Maybe Indiana can pick up a few pop-up thunderstorms next Tuesday, midday and afternoon, but that's going to be a big if right now, if anything can hold together. I think that this dry stretch is going to be fairly pleasant here at the beginning still. Today, tomorrow, Thursday, we're looking at temperatures warm but not overly hot, and humidity value staying down. Late week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, humidity values creeping up. Temperatures starting to work higher as well. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, yep, it's warm, it's humid. It doesn't feel very nice. We're still not seeing much rain at all, but it's very, very muggy. All of that will play into that next front that shows up next Thursday into Friday. Should give us a good round of moisture. We just have to wait a bit for it, and we're definitely going to be hearing calls of needing a rain. The moisture that we saw late last week and over the weekend, that's gone or will be very, very soon in most areas. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, the latest dairy outlook from the Agricultural Department reflects opposite direction for production and prices. USDA's Rod Bain has more.
Lower production, higher prices. The summary of USDA's dairy forecast for August. This is World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair Mark Jekanowski, starting with milk production.
We reduced our production forecast for both 2024 and 2025. We still expect year-over-year growth, so 2025 production will exceed this year's production by about 1.8 billion pounds.
Tighter cow inventories, restraints on some heifer supplies, and reduction of milk per cow due to heat stress are behind month-over-month reductions in both years.
Prices this month higher for the most part. A little bit of a weakness in butter prices recently for this year, so we reduced our butter price forecast by a penny a pound.
Increases in class prices led to higher all milk prices for both years, up a nickel at $22.30 a pound this year, up a quarter at $22.75 a pound for 2025. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Hey, thanks, Rod. Well, yesterday, the USDA Weekly Crop Progress Report came out. Let's take a look at those numbers. The Ohio Crop Progress Report update is sponsored by AgriSpray Drones, empowering rural America through complete spray drone solutions. Contact them at agrispraydrones.com/Arnold Precision. Starting with the national numbers, corn silking was pegged at 97%, 1 percentage point behind both last year and the 5-year average of 98%. Corn in the dough stage was estimated at 74%, equal to last year's pace, but 3 points ahead of the 5-year average of 71%. Corn dented was estimated at 30%, equal to last year, but 4 points ahead of the 5-year average of 26%. Corn matured was pegged at 5%, 2 points ahead of both last year and the 5-year average. Its crop condition was rated at 67%, was in good to excellent condition, unchanged for the second week in a row and holding above last year's 58%. Looking at soybeans blooming were pegged at 95%, equal to both last year's pace and the 5-year average. Soybean setting pod were estimated at 81%, 3 points behind last year's 84%, but 1 point ahead of the 5-year average of 80%. The crop condition was rated 68% of the soybeans were in good to excellent condition, also unchanged from the previous week for the second week in a row, and still above last year's rating of 59% good to excellent. Taking a quick look at winter wheat, harvest inched ahead 3 percentage points to reach 96% complete nationwide. That was 1 point ahead of both last year and the 5-year average pace of 95%. Now looking at the numbers from the Buckeye State, topsoil moisture condition was rated 19% very short, 38% short, 41% adequate, and 2% in surplus. Statewide, the average temperature for the week was 71.7 degrees. That's 0.2 degrees above normal. The U.S. Drought Monitor reported that 59% of the state was abnormally dry or worse. This was down 8 percentage points from the previous week. Corn dented is at 79% this week. That's up 14% over last week. 6 points ahead of last year and 3 points ahead of the 5-year average. Corn dented was pegged at 31%. That's up 23 points over last week, 14 points ahead of last year, and 16 points ahead of the 5-year average. Corn matured was rated this week for the first time at 5%. Corn harvested for silage is at 1% this week. Soybean setting pods were rated at 92%. That's 10 points over last week, 14 points ahead of last year, and 15 points ahead of the 5-year average. Soybeans dropping leads were rated this week at 1%. Alfalfa hay third cutting is at 76% complete this week. That's up 13 points ahead of last week and 23 points ahead of last year. Alfalfa hay fourth cutting is at 1% this week. Other hay second cutting is at 95% complete this week. That's up 5 points over last week. And other hay third cutting is rated at 41% this week. As for the crop condition, corn was rated at 57% good to excellent, while soybeans were rated at 56% good to excellent. We'll be back to take a look at the grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
Nearly 90% of farmers say that financial worries, constantly changing market conditions, and other uncontrollable variables take a toll on their mental well-being. Add in the weather and family dynamics, well, it's a lot to handle alone. But did you know farmers and their families can receive free confidential services from licensed professionals? Support is available 24/7 to help with the challenges you face. Look for Farm Family Wellness Alliance under the Resources tab at farmfoundation.org. Take care of yourself. Your well-being matters.
It's now time for the Louis Dreyfus Grain Analysis, and that is brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your Soybean Checkoff. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished mixed on Monday, kicking off the work week with a solid day on soybeans. Corn, it was all right. And we get into the wheat markets, and it was not really all right. We did manage to get Chicago wheat into the black a little bit, and spring wheat was lower. Let's take a look at the overall theme of the day. The markets were mixed on a lack of significant headlines. Chinese demand for U.S. soybeans did feature a little bit of a reporting in the FAS daily reporting system. Exporters sold a total of 442,000 tons of soybeans to China or unknown for new crop delivery. Elsewhere, importers in Asia are now seeking U.S. soy as the world's low-cost supply for fall and winter delivery. No new corn sales were announced. FOB premiums in Ukraine and Brazil remain well above U.S. Gulf origin into November and December. So that tells you right there why we saw a little bit of strength in beans and also in corn. Now to the wheat markets. Wheat futures worldwide yesterday shed premium as the Russian cash market remains stuck in that 219 to 224 metric ton range for September and November delivery. Egypt's talk of including Turkish wheat as an acceptable origin in the Mideast also hit the U.S. numbers quite strongly. Turkey will struggle to export supply amid its relatively high prices, but larger crops in the Mideast region tensions have harmed regional demand growth. Export inspections yesterday, generally for the week ending August 15th, were 46 million bushels on corn versus 39 million the previous week. The U.S.'s competitive position in the global marketplace continues to be reflected. Soybean inspections, 15 million versus 13 million. And on the wheat side of things, we came in 13 million versus 24 million. No changes in the year-on-year direction based on where we had been through the week prior. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight markets, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, it looks like a lot of red on the board from Chicago. Let's start off with September corn, 377.5, down a half. December new crop corn, 399.5, down 3/4. September soybeans, 954.5, down 1 3/4. November soybeans, 973 3/4, down 2 1/4. September wheat, 527 1/4, down 1. Switching over to take a look at livestock from yesterday's close. August live cattle 182.80 unchanged. October live cattle 179.02 up 72 cents. October lean hogs 76.80 up $1.72. December lean hogs 68.75 up $1.52. September feeder cattle 239.27 down 22 cents. October feeder cattle 235.87 down 7 cents. September class 3 milk 22.34 up 4 cents. October class 3 milk 22.46, up a penny. Have a great morning, everyone. I'm Joe Everett, and you're listening to the Ohio AgNet.